Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Tardisode 1, written by Gareth Roberts and directed by Ashley Way, and also as well New Earth, written by Russell T Davies and directed by James Hawes. This is well, let's talk about New Earth to begin with. New Earth is the first episode of Season 2, the first full season of the 10th Doctor era. And because this is a very odd story, because despite it being the second story, this is technically the introduction to the 10th Doctor, as this is the first one in which he is in the majority of the plot. In the Christmas Invasion, he was hardly in it, which was a really way of setting up a story. And Season 2 of Doctor Who turned out to be one of the most popular seasons of all time. It had one of the most popular Doctors, the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. It had the populist companion of the revived series, Rose Tyler, had two of the most popular monsters of all time in it. And this story is basically setting it up. It's also the first story in which, in the new series, to take place on a different planet. Every story in the 9th Doctor era was either set on Earth or a satellite orbiting Earth. Very weird when you think about it, that the 9th Doctor never visited another planet. It's really bizarre. And ironically, the planet that they arrive on is a planet called New Earth, which actually sets up this whole world of New World, which become a popular site for Doctor Who fans, as it will be returned to in a later story. And as well, New Earth has its own spin-off box set. How is this a thing? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the setting's nice, but it's strange how we got, this setting became so popular, even when we don't see it that much. It's kind of funny. But because it's the first story of Season 2, officially, I personally like to consider the Christmas Invasion part of Season 2. Because of that, it actually has the first episode in the Tardisode series, setting it up. The Tardisodes, for those of you who aren't aware, were short little episodes lasting maybe a minute or two long. I believe this one is only 2 minutes long, and it was just like little clips that played to set up the story that they're telling. It would be part of the BBC Red Button. No, it's not. I tell a lie. That was Attack of the Grass. The Tardisodes were these short videos that you actually had to download onto your phone or off the internet, which is really surprising. Sadly, however, due to the poor way these stories were kept, all episodes of the Tardisodes only survive now as really poor quality videos on YouTube. As in, like, they're not standard definition, they're very pixelated. But personally, I like them. I like they give a little bit of more context to the story. The Tardisode to this story is basically just a small little advertisement to the hospital that we arrive into the story. It's a nice way of setting up the adventure. It's a nice way to set up this world with these a space hospital run by space cat nun people who advertise that like their hospital can cure almost like every illness. Just come to our hospital. And there's also some like sinister stuff at the end where one of them is like looking at the camera and you can hear kind of like screeching in the background. I actually pretty like it. Obviously, it's being way too short. It's just a small little clip, but it helps set up the story very nicely. And I recommend watching it before you actually get into the story itself. It helps with the helps you get into the environment of the story. So there you go, that's Tardisode 1. So New Earth. The story starts off with the Doctor and Rose leaving the Powell estate, saying goodbye to Mickey and Jackie Tyler. Now this is an interesting fact because later on in the series it would actually be stated that the 10th Doctor actually stayed at the Powell estate for a while, with this bit being the implication that that the 10th Doctor stayed on Earth for a little bit, which is a very nice, our Doctor getting a new home. And Rose and the 10th Doctor take their first real adventure out as they go out travelling, and the Doctor claims that they've taken them to a planet further than we've ever gone before. Which leads into our title sequence. Now, this is going to be a very controversial story, I think. I mean, the story, from what I can gather, isn't a particularly popular story. A lot of people either find it as that really funny one, but nothing much to it, or some people outright hate it. I remember when I was watching this when I was younger, and I absolutely hated this adventure, but maturity, I might grow up with age, but that's not what I'm on about. This vlog might be controversial by the fact that, at least in this story, at least from the small scenes that we get of both the 10th Doctor and Rose together, I don't like them as a pairing. I like the 10th Doctor in this story, don't get me wrong. I love how he's written, how he acts, how David Tennant plays him. I like Billy Piper, especially like the majority of the scenes Rose isn't in it, but this pairing of the 10th Doctor and Rose, it's just I don't know, I can't describe it. There's something a bit too not simple about it, but like, for example, they come out the TARDIS and they see this magnificent sight, which we'll talk about in a bit, and then we have like a sort of picnic as they joke about the sun expanding, and that was our first date. It's like, oh yes, it's too cheerful, it's too jolly. It feels like these characters are presenting us rather than actual people talking. And I know that's going to be a very controversial opinion on this story. It might get better later on. I know a few stories later on the line, whether my opinion on those stories hold up or whether I will see this connection with them, I don't know. But I just don't like this pairing. It just doesn't work in my opinion. Rose is a very selfish, very character, and the 10th Doctor, when he's with Rose, is a very submissive character in terms of how he treats Rose, constantly just telling us that she is like this. Rose would care. Rose is this amazing person, but we as an audience don't really feel it. Sure, the 9th Doctor also glorified Rose, despite her not really having that much to gloat about personality-wise. But there's a lot with 9th Doctor. There was a lot of conflict. There was a lot of interest, intriguing stuff in their relationship. But here, it's really one note in my opinion. But as I say, they get on this picnic. Now, this view is one of the, like I said, it's one of the first planets that we've seen in the new series, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. This effect really holds up of this massive city of New York. Or as the Doctor puts it, technically it's the 15th New York since the original. So it's New York. Try to say that 10 times fast. When it turns out they're being watched by this this small little device, a device that's familiar with us if you've watched the end of the World. It's the spider robots that Cassandra was using. Yes, this story sees the reprise return of Cassandra, the bitchy trampoline, as Rose put her in that story. There's a lot of because of her involvement, this story has a lot of humour. It's a bit unbearable at the moment. Fun fact, this story was actually supposed to take itself a much more serious tone, with the Doctor and Rose investigating alien activities in a hospital, which would be also used for a later story. But Billie Piper really wanted a story where she can be funny, and so Russell T Davies reworked his script to give Billie Piper a chance to be really funny, as we will later see, and I'll get more into that when we get there. Now, the Doctor and Rose go and visit this hospital, which is on the other side of this massive ocean. There's this great scenery of mountains and stuff. As the Doctor has been given a psychic message to arrive at the hospital. And so Doctor and Rose go to investigate. However, Rose's elevator gets interrupted by Cassandra, who takes her to the basement where we meet Chip, a half clone with a half life, who looks after Cassandra's needs. And he's this really weird character. I don't know why. I just absolutely love him. I love how submissive he is, how just madly in love he is with Cassandra. And there's a lot of scenes with him where you just see him in the background and he's just, I don't know, it's just really funny. And Cassandra steals the body of Rose Tyler, meaning that throughout the majority of the story, Billie Piper is playing Cassandra, playing Rose Tyler. This is an element of the story which you either really love or really hate. Personally, though, I think it really drags the story down as we constantly break up the action, break up the expense, break up the motion of the story throughout the entire adventure, so we can have Billie Piper just being really silly and goofy. But that being said, Billie Piper does a fantastic job playing Cassandra. And when she's with Cassandra, as she is with Cassandra, the Doctor and Cassandra Rose, as I'm calling her, that pairing works phenomenally well. I absolutely love it. Back on the Doctor side of the thing, he actually arrives in the room that he intended to be, and he sees these people with the terminal illnesses. Some of them getting turned into stone. Some of them have this illness which kills you in 5 seconds. And they're all getting treated in some way. But the Doctor is here to find someone who's been connected in with the psychic paper. And he finds him, the person he's been looking forward to, the face of Bo. Now this story is, when you take it on its own, it's a very lovely little moment. The Doctor has been reunited with an old friend, somebody who he only really met once, but in the end he has this bond with him. Comparing it though to what actually happens in the end of the world is extremely weird. The Doctor and the face of Bo don't even get a single line to each other in that story. I don't even think the Doctor even acknowledges the face of Bo. It's so bizarre how, like, if you watch those stories back to back, it's like, it feels really off watching these stories in chronological order, because we as an audience viewer are like, the Doctor was never that close with the face of Bo. That being said, though, the relationship here, the dynamic here, at least David Tennant plays it extremely well when he puts his hand on the glass and he's softening his voice and it's like, it's me, I look different, but it's me, alright? And the face of Bo seemingly is dying. And then we get one of the elements which I think really hasn't aged well for this story, and that is the face of Bo's secret. It's here that they tease that the face of Bo will have a secret he will tell, only which will be his final words which he will only say to someone like him, an almost immortal being who's also a traveller, and he will say out his final secrets. This, in my opinion, really bogs down the scene, in my opinion, because we've gone from this really touching, emotional, like the Doctor getting a call from a friend who is very ill and he's got the Doctor's here for comfort, to now, oh my God, what's this? What is the face of Bo's last words? What will this mystery be? We will have to find out in the next time the face of Bo will appear. This is the kind of stuff which really, growing up, especially in recent years, I've hated this kind of stuff, because, why? Where did this rumour begin? Why does the face of Bo wait until his final breath to say these last... I mean, we do get an explanation, but a very weak one in my opinion, and it's clearly that this explanation, which gets in later, is just so here, now, we can't say it. It's like, no, it must be his final words. And then we got to talk about the villains. The cats, people who've been running the hospital, have been curing people with some of the worst illnesses in the universe. Some of them which even the Doctor states like there wouldn't be a cure for that in the next 5,000, 4,000 years. But you found a cure, that's impossible. And the Doctor sets up this mystery as these cat people have been keeping these people and in their basement just completely sick. They're so disgusted and horrified and ill and sick, and don't get me wrong, it's a great idea for a story. Like, you know, there's the implications of businesses, corporations getting so much demand, but they have to really cut corners in a way that actually harms and is amoral in a sense. And there's a lot to say about that. And Cassandra actually knows about this and has actually here to try and blackmail the cat nurses to give her money, which is another thing Russell T Davies loves to do. Capitalist villains. Has he even wrote in a story yet without it doesn't have one capitalist in a story? I don't think he has. That's really... I've only now just noticed that. Every story he has a character that's obsessed with money. That's really weird. But anyway... it's a really great idea, but I feel like the setup, the pacing, the characters that we are presented aren't very memorable and very strong. These characters are clearly a backdrop to the Cassandra plot. Cassandra is really the main villain here, but these characters are supposed to be the big massive threat, and we get some really great scenes of the Doctor questioning their moral, but again, it gets back down to the Cassandra stuff. A great example is with the Doctor goes down with Rose, who is actually Cassandra. Actually, before that, I need to talk about the kiss, the famous kiss from this scene. When the trailers for this season came out, there was a lot of controversy between a scene in which the 10th Doctor and Rose seemingly are snogging each other's faces off. In the context of the story, it is actually Cassandra who's basically like obsessed now with her. She's got a body and she's like attracted to this new Doctor. And it's more like she like jumps on him to snog him, as the Doctor jokingly is like, "Yep, still got it." That scene is absolutely hilarious and is clearly played for a joke. But what's really funny is the behind the scenes. They didn't tell David Tennant that was going to happen. From David Tennant's point of view, that reaction he had was purely improvised. Now rewatch that scene and tell me that's not funny as hell. But anyway, back to what I was on about. The Doctor goes down and discovers all of these sick people, which he puts together, has every illnesses, has every disease, which the cat people use as like lab rats in a sense. And Rose is like talking like really funny and stuff, and the Doctor is like questioning these two cat people. It's like, what's the turnover? 1,000, 3,000, 10 billion? If life is saved by these means, then life isn't worth saving. And then Rose says something like something silly, and the Doctor's like, right, okay, I can understand this horrible plan. I can understand you doing all this to help people, but tell me what you've done with Rose. And then, like, this is such a really great, interesting idea. This really great, gripping plot. But the problem with it is that it gets really backdropped to the really to the element of the story where, in terms of plot, not much goes on, with the exception of banter. And that's what all this story is. The majority then of the rest of the story is just the Doctor and Cassandra bantering over Rose's body and all these silly moments. But I will admit there are some funny scenes. I especially love the scene in which when Cassandra gets Rose's body and she starts like bouncing to like, all the stuff, and you just see Chip in the background bouncing with her. That is my favourite scene in that story. Bloody fantastic, just absolutely hilarious. There's also a lot of humour that was very popular at the time. Stuff like Cassandra looking at Rose in the reflection and is like, "Oh my god, I'm a chav!" And then she kind of like zips down and is all like sexual. And she looks at her bum and it's like, "Nice rear." No, nice back bumper or something like that. And we also get scenes in which the Doctor forces Cassandra out of Rose's body, but in doing so, Cassandra goes into the 10th Doctor's body. David Tennant playing Cassandra is just so funny, but it's such a drag on the plot. And that's really like it, really. The story is a pure comedy, even to the expense of the story itself, which means that when you rewatch this story with the humor already in mind, like, when you all know all the jokes, when you take the humor out, there's nothing really in this plot that's thick enough to keep the audience interested. It's a complete farce, a really funny farce. A fast which is, I guess the humour is to a particular kind of people. It's not for everyone, I understand that. But taking the humour out, this story really has nothing much going for it. As we run around from scenery to scenery and stuff, and this story could have easily been half the time it was, taking all the humorous bits out and a lot of the running the corridors out of it. Like a great example is near the end, where the Doctor and Cassandra find themselves in one of the wards where the Face of Bo and the secretary woman and this Duke of something, they're all in there, and the Doctor's like, okay, we're cleaning stuff, and this woman then, she basically is like, right, we're gonna have to call the outside world, let them break in and sort this mess out and rescue us and save us. But the Doctor's like, no, you can't do that. If they breach through the contamination, then everybody out there is in danger of catching this really, really, really deadly disease. But this woman is like, I don't care. If it gets me out of here, then it's a risk I'm willing to take. And the Doctor stands up to her and is like, so I'm going to have to stop you too. Never brought up again. The Doctor has this massive confrontation with one of these characters who is risking everybody's lives out there in the chance that she will save herself. And it's never brought up again. The Doctor acts like, right, this is now another problem. This is now something, like, not only now do I have to deal with these people with all these illnesses, but I now have to also deal with these human characters. But yet, when he solves it, it has really little to do with the human aspect. Like, for example, he basically just turns around and is like, right, I'm going to have to deal with you too. Right then, everybody get every solution, all of this medicine together, and I'll go into this elevator in this really cool action scene in which he goes down to the wire of the elevator and puts all of the liquid into this into the sprinklers, and he tells everybody, all of these ill people, to come towards him, and when the sprinklers go off, it then cures everyone. Don't get me wrong, the ending is very happy, very cheerful, puts you in a really good mood to see such this horrifying event just have such a happy ending, with the Doctor curing everybody as these new humans, these clones that were basically born to be ill and sickness, being cured. And the Doctor basically is stating, it's like, right, we're all, they can all go out free. Sure, it's a bit contrived and it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but it puts you in a really good mood. My issue is that literally moments we were just setting up another element of the story, the confrontation between the Doctor and the humans who were begging to get out. But the story gets resolved before the Doctor can even confront them. He never meets these characters again. He never brings it up. It's never like at the end of the story where he confronts this woman and is like, if it was for you, everyone would have been dead by now, or something. We never get a scene like that. It's just, the Doctor's like, right, I've got to deal with you two. Now let me do this over here, and then, which will solve everyone's problems, including yours. You see what I'm getting at? Like, and Cassandra then takes the body of Chip, who is dying, and the Doctor has a final request, because Cassandra's actually, at this point, she's seen, Cassandra's characterization in this is actually a pretty decent. She starts off as this bubbling evil character who we know, and then she gets into the mind of one of these really sick people, and there's a fantastic scene in which Cassandra is just like, she just wants to be touched. She's been born to be in that little cabinet, completely sick and ill, and all she wants to do is be touched by another living being. And the Doctor, even despite her being in Rose's body, takes sympathy on her, and which means that though she's still a selfish, greedy character, she does now have a heart, a loving, someone she wants to see like the best case scenario. And when Chip is dying, she actually refuses to jump into another body, and she states it's like it's time for her to go, it's time for her to die. And the Doctor grants her a favour as he goes back in time to when Cassandra looked like a human being, with a great cameo from, what's her name, Zoe Zanamaker, Lamanick, I can't remember her name, I do apologise. That is very unprofessional of me. And we get a bittersweet ending of Cassandra in Chip's body telling her younger self that she's beautiful, she's absolutely beautiful, before collapsing and dying in her younger form, in her younger self's arms. The Doctor and Rose leave. And there you go, that's New Earth. Overall, it's probably the first proper dud of the revived series. Sure, we had some really weak stories in season 1, like Boomtown and The Long Game. In fact, really, it's only them 2 stories. But those stories at least had a lot of interest and stuff to talk about and wanted to talk about the story it's dealing with. Here, the story gets really distracted with humour and setting up stuff for later adventures. And it's one of those stories where I think only a select few people would enjoy it. If you really like that 2000 sense of humour, something which I will admit, despite me being someone who I don't think it would really apply to, I'm a sucker for that kind of humour. I do enjoy that kind of stuff. But the plot, the pacing, the characters, they're just not strong enough for the length of this episode. And so New Earth is probably one of the first episodes of the revived series in which I'll probably skip, if I ever did skip Doctor Who. I never skip Doctor Who. So there you go, that's Tardisode 1 and New Earth. So join me next time where we will be meeting Queen Victoria as she invites the Doctor on to a little tea party of sorts, as the Doctor encounters the supernatural. So join me next time for Tardisode 2 and Tooth and Claw. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!